We had, I think, like 18 veterans come out.
Sick.
It was a pretty big group. And
Yeah. For your first thing, 18, that's...
Yeah, and it
That's
was
gotta
a
feel good.
group of, older veterans, younger veterans, and a couple even like reservists, I think. And it's awesome just because, I could have this mindset of what it'll be or something, but it's really just going to naturally shape itself, and it's going to be the veterans who get involved that help shape it. And everyone during and after that hike was super stoked just to meet some other veterans that share the same interests.
All right, let's go. Let's sit down the new set and chill for this Whiskey Wednesday with Casey White. Thanks for being here, dude.
Hello.
Yeah, shake. We could shake. You don't drink whiskey, so you brought your favorite beer?
Yes, absolutely favorite.
I put it down so we can just crack them right here.
Can we pick it up?
Sure, dude, just as long as you hand me one.
Yeah, where's the camera? Can I show it to the camera?
Yours is over here.
There you go.
Cool, man. So
this is a beer from Big Sexy Brewing Company.
before we crack it open and cheers, we did an episode with a few guys, but I think this became significant. Justin, correct me if I'm wrong, with Danny O'Neill from Warfighter Overwatch. We'll get into what you do, but he does. You guys are in the same lanes.
Mm-hmm.
And this glass was full of whiskey. We poured it for all the fallen soldiers and first responders, and not just soldiers, but everyone in the military. And the whiskey has since dried out, but we cheers it every time.
Okay.
Cool?
Cool.
Dude, thanks for bringing this. Thanks
Yeah.
for being here.
Cheers.
Give me some of that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. This is Bring Sexy Back, right?
That's
Made a really
delicious.
cool video for it on Instagram. It's pretty cool.
So we can follow that
Yeah.
and watch it. Cool. So I know you a little bit from junior high, and we kind of ran into each other at Big Sexy Brewing Company. And we were like, hey, you look familiar. Thought that was pretty funny. That we just were like, I haven't seen you in, I don't know, 14 years?
I imagine it's more than that.
And you, I think, correct me if I'm
20.
wrong, you said
about
I
20
left
years.
such an impact on your life when we were children. You're like, I never would forget you.
Yeah, a huge impact, man. No, I mean, when you, at that time I had moved away, so it's interesting. You look back on middle school, and some people can still have friends from that time.
Yeah.
And I don't have any, so it's kind of interesting to run into someone and
That's
remember
almost
who they
like
are.
a third of my friends is from, because I have so few. So my one or two good friends are from junior high.
Nice.
So
Well, if we're friends now, then you're my one and only friend from junior high.
dude, we're like best friends now. But dude, so basically, man, Whiskey Wednesdays, now Beer Wednesdays, because it's beer clock somewhere right here. We just do, we like to represent first responders, members of the military, former members of the military, veterans, and just, it's a really cool platform where we just kind of highlight a story of whatever you've done in the service, or maybe something you've done in the service that you've carried over into the civilian world. And talking offline, I think you're doing some really cool stuff. So could you tell us a little bit about when you enlisted, what you enlisted into, and your military career?
Yeah, I joined the Marine Corps after high school, so it was in 2008. And at first I thought about joining the Marine Corps and being in the marching band, Marine Corps band. And man, I was.
Did you play an instrument through high school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You weren't just like this.
Yeah.
I want to go right to an E7 like that.
Yeah, it could have been cool, but the recruiter had came to the band classroom and started talking to me and telling me about how cool the opportunity would be, and I had never thought about joining any kind of branch of service at the time. And after a while, he got me to take an ASVAB and stuff, and after that, they were like, "Oh, you can choose any job," and so I So I was like, oh, let me look at the list, and they came across intelligence, and I think they sold it to me like, they were like, oh, it's going to be like James Bond type of stuff. And
Yeah. The Marines selling an intelligence job.
Yeah.
You just said the word ASVAB, Marines and intelligence, like right.
Yeah,
I
I've
can
heard
give you a
that
hard
joke.
time because I was in the Air Force, and you got to score a little bit higher to get in.
Yeah, sure. And so, I was kind of sold on that though, and I joined in 2008, actually with my best friend Cameron at the
cool.
time. We were able to do like this thing called the Buddy Program.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
And it helps out. We we're in the same little platoon together in boot camp, and it's going through Marine boot camp is hard no matter what, and having a buddy with you makes it that much easier.
Yeah, Marines do a good job at that. I wanted to do that because my friend went in. Yeah, but I enlisted way later, and I was married, and my wife was like, yeah, no, you are not going to the Marines. Researched, came back, it's like, fine. I found a couple of careers in the Army I want to do, and she was like, you're nuts. Like, no way. She's got this picture I was going to be sent off to my death, so she's like, no. So I was a swimmer. I was like, all right, I want to be a Navy rescue swimmer. She's like, absolutely not. So it's like, all right. Well, I want to be a cop at some point, so hey, babe, the Air Force has this thing called security forces. It's similar to military police, and I had to go in with a good pitch to get my wife to say yes to something. I was like, and it's the Air Force. They don't do anything. They get sent last. Like, the Marines have to mess up. The Army has to mess up. Maybe they'll send the Navy, depending on what's going on. And then the Air Force goes. And she was like, that sounds okay. But that's really how it is. So.
Yeah. Now I can imagine an easier sell to join the Air Force than,
hey, dude. Whoa.
than going to the Marine Corps. No, I mean it's all the same. I feel like it depends on what you run into while you're there and everything, and where you get stationed. And
yeah, it's awful. I got stationed at an awful base, but so you're doing intel.
Yeah.
Where did you go?
Man, our school is in Virginia Beach. That was pretty cool. It's I think it lasted like 6-8 months or something like that, and then I got stationed in 29 Palms, California.
Oh, so you.
And if anyone knows the Marine Corps bases, they know that's probably the worst there is. I mean, it's the middle of the desert. There's nothing around. It's like the pre-training place all Marines go to before they get deployed. And so we were just constantly training out there. And
every Marine I know has passed through 29 Palms.
Yep.
They'll have the same story.
Yep.
It sounds
sucks.
Cooler than it is.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
It sucks. And it's built on a hill, and at the bottom of the hill is this body of water that we call Lake Bandini. And it just smells like crap. And it is crap, and it's just there. And they set up like the PT course next to it.
Oh, yes.
And it's just all those little things you imagine like could be different. They're not, and that's just how it is.
Just embracing the suck everywhere.
And every Marine that's been there from, like the 1980s or 90s, it's the same thing. They tell the same stories. Marines that are there now tell the same stories.
Well, that's cool. It's like a rite of passage.
Sure.
Getting
yeah,
there.
you can call it that.
Did you do anything cool through intel while you're in the Marines?
Yeah, my job while I was there in 29 Palms was part of a unit called VMU 3, and they flew UAVs. It's like kind of like a drone type of thing. And at the time, the capabilities were, super nice camera on it, day, night, forward-facing IR, and it was cool. We also had like a little laser on it for laser-guided missiles and bombs and stuff.
That's pretty sweet.
And deployed with that unit to Iraq and Afghanistan, and was super involved in like day-to-day operations out there. And it was a good time because it was very unique and specific. And some Marines can tell stories of like just kind of the same thing And,
Yeah,
you know,
there's some storytellers out there.
yeah, but it's very unique job, and all the people in that unit were, you know, good people, and we were, you know, there's only maybe like 100 people, so we were all super close. And,
Oh, that's really sweet. Real tight knit there.
yeah.
How long did you stay in the Marines for?
I was there until 2013, and got out in May 2013, and moved back up here to
North
Sacramento.
of 29 Palms?
Yes, definitely.
So since you've been out, what have you been doing? So it's almost 10 years ago.
Well, I've never been back to the desert.
That's good.
Yeah.
I don't blame you. You probably have PTSD from
Yeah,
just 29 Palms.
Yeah, make it a purpose to not go to the desert.
I think my buddy had one of those GMC Jimmies, and they would take that thing like smashing through the dunes down there, and they do big old like bonfires on their weekends. And one dude came back walking back, and he was like, where's my car? It's like, oh dude, I rolled it and it's totaled. You need to get like a tow truck out there to get it out.
Yeah.
He's like, it was horrible.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of crazy things that can happen out in the middle of the desert.
Especially with you know, one, two Marines, it goes nuts.
Yeah, and they're probably 20, 21 years old.
Yeah, the perfect age.
Yeah.
So May 2013, you're out. What did you moved back to California? What did you look to get into?
Oh, I was, I was just kind of happy to be home. I moved in with a couple friends immediately, and was happy to be just away from that day to day in the Marine Corps, which is kind of exhausting at some point. And I was like working at a car place for a little bit.
Like detailing or
No,
sales?
Sales.
Nice.
And I was not good at that. I'm not a car salesman for sure.
You just couldn't wine and dine somebody into
Right.
What were you selling? Dodge Durangos?
Yeah,
F-150s?
Exactly. I'm too direct to like, hey, you can see this thing.
Yeah.
It's red.
Here are the keys.
Do you want it or not? This is the price.
All I need you to do is sign right here.
But apparently there's more to it than that. Or at least back then. I think selling cars now, it's like people just get on a list and
You can't even deal with them anymore. You're like, hey, could you how do we, like, that's too much. How do we knock like 10 grand off? They're like, the price is what you get, man. That's it.
And they're even adding money to it these days.
Yeah, it's no fun. Car dealers used to be fun to go to and just trying to like get it as low as you can. Be like, nah, I'm okay.
Right. So, I mean, actually, I went out to a bar one night, and that's where I met my wife at a bar. And that was just within the month of being back up here. Met her at a bar, and she kind of just like stole my attention when I saw her walk in, and never looked back. So
Nice.
yeah, it was pretty cool.
It was in 2013 or?
Yeah, 2013.
Wow. That was like,
Yeah, I got out May 3rd, and it was May 30th. The
dang.
night I met her. And
She's probably so pumped that you remember that date.
yeah, she is for sure. I had made a bet with one of my roommates that for a case of beer, if I had a girlfriend within like 4 months or something like that, I would have to give him a case of beer, and I didn't even come close to making it. 4 months.
Not even.
Yeah.
Did you get married the same year? Or did you?
No, not at all.
Date
We
for a
actually,
while?
yeah, we didn't get married until 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. 7 years of dating, or
However long that is.
however
Yeah, it was
long
about.
however long the engagement was. So yeah, about 7 years dating, engaged.
Yep.
Nice. I was gonna say that'd be pretty quick to just be like, lose a bet for within 4 months of getting a girlfriend, then be like, oh, by the way, I'm married, so here's like 10 cases of beer.
Yeah, it would have costed a lot of cases of beer for sure. No, we took our time, and we were happy at the rate of speed we dated, and it was good.
It's awesome.
Perfect.
So, terrible car salesman.
Yep.
What did you do after that?
I got a job at a local company that does like home theater and smart home installations and alarms and stuff.
Did you feel a little lost at all what you wanted to do after you got out?
For sure, yeah. You might not, man, the way I look at it now too is I don't think I felt exactly lost,
Yeah.
but you for sure are lost. You have no idea. You wake up and you want to take charge of the day and do something good, but you do things like oh, I'll take this job as a car salesman, sure.
Yeah.
Or I'll take this job. Yeah.
I'll jump in. I mean, you went from all this structure of, going all the way back to boot camp. They tell you when to sleep, when to wake up, when to get dressed, when to PT, when to eat, when to shower. To then they give you a little bit more of a rope when you go through probably your school to be intel, where it's like, okay, I have to be here at this time, I PT at this time. I get probably more of a choice of what I want to eat when I go to the chow. And then when you get to 29 Palms, it's still super structured. They just give you a little bit more rope. And all of a sudden you're out and you're like, okay, well, what do I do?
Right. Yeah. When that structure goes away immediately, you're still getting up and taking a shower most days probably.
Hopefully.
But it's like you're starting fresh. I didn't have a career field exactly. Didn't have any schooling. Didn't have a job lined up at all. And so just understanding that you got to start paying rent and my bills started accumulating. I think even Haley had baked me a lasagna one week that lasted me like a week and a half because I just was so broke that
stretch this thing out.
I just had lasagna.
Eat around the mold, guys. Eat around the mold.
Lasagna, and I think I was making waffles a lot.
Nice.
Just get a box
Any
of
top
waffle
ramen?
mix.
Cup of noodles.
Waffles and lasagna.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. You could live off that.
I think it was like a 2-week period, like before I got like my first paycheck from when I switched to that new job.
Was there any reason why you didn't get out and look into career fields similar to what you were doing?
Yeah, I think it took quite a few years for me to look back at that time and appreciate it, because especially when I got out, there was like some turmoil and stuff, and the way that structure is in the military sometimes isn't beneficial to you, like as a person, and how you respond to other people who you might think like aren't deserving of the power they have or the positions they're in. And so I was really like anti-government job for that time. And I look back at it later, I'm like, it would have been cool to probably get like an intel job at, Beale Air Force Base or something like that. But yeah, I definitely missed out on utilizing that top secret clearance I had.
Did they have any of the programs set up when you got out? Because I can't remember when they put in like TAPS or whatever it's called for the Marines, where you go through like an exit course.
Yeah, they do that exit course. I don't remember anything from it.
I barely remember mine.
Yeah,
but
I think I was just looking forward for like chow time and.
Yeah, for me it was something I had to do, but it was probably the same as you. Once I was like, no, I'm getting out. And even though they sent me orders to like a dream base, I said no. They sent me second orders to like an even better base, I said no. The moment you say no, people are just like, you're basically done. Like you're just a placeholder till your spot gets filled with somebody who just got here and you're leaving.
For sure.
And you get written off pretty fast.
Yeah, you get written off for anything.
Yeah.
Whether it's a mistake or something that you've done wrong, but like it's just, you get written off pretty quick.
Yeah, it's sad. It's definitely not like, it's got a lot of good structure, but like you said, like for the individual, when you're looking to maybe, hey, this is a great thing I did, I'm ready to build off of it. If you're not building off of it and staying into that service you've enlisted to and become a part of the family, they're just like, all right, get out of here, we're done. See ya.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so car salesman to home theater man. When did you feel like you found your like niche, your niche?
I hadn't yet, for sure. That was still, kind of just working for a paycheck. I had family that worked for that business, so I was able to kind of get into it.
Okay.
Even still, my younger brother works there, and good friends with everyone who still works there. But
and was that 2013 still? 2014?
it's probably 2013.
So you didn't work as a car salesman for too long.
No,
You were not
I didn't make
selling
any
cars.
money. I had to eat lasagna and
I
waffles.
see the writing on the wall, man. I'm still eating this lasagna from 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago. I need to not sell cars.
Yeah,
I mean, I need to
exactly.
stop trying to sell cars. I have not sold any cars.
right.
All right. So, home theater to what?
Yeah, I mean, I worked at, I was doing like a lot of like where you go in and with like the electricians and pulling like low volt wire and stuff like
Okay.
that in new homes, and also setting up alarm systems. And then I had a back injury in the Marine Corps that kind of flared back up again, and I remember waking up and going like, I can't come to work, and they were kind of mad about it. And like 3 or 4 days later, I still couldn't really get out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, do you mind if I like work like in the office instead of working as a technician type of thing? And they were like, sure. And so I came in, and within a couple weeks, I was just going on in the office and doing stuff like scheduling and managing all the jobs that we were doing.
Yeah.
And it fit with my personality way better. That's kind of when it clicked in my head a little bit, like to oversee things a little bit more, compared to going out and kind of just doing labor for 8 hours or something.
Okay.
And kind of excelled that for a while, and I started doing a lot of I think I started doing like a lot of like marketing stuff for that company as well too, just because that's when I started to realize I really like doing like Photoshop stuff and business development stuff, and kind of started learning things about making videos and social media posts and how to engage with customers and other people in the business, and that really sparked my interest and kind of created my own job doing that there.
Oh,
it wasn't like a
cool.
position or anything, just did that, and that's kind of where I kind of really liked doing that at the time.
And is that the job that propelled you into what you're doing now?
I guess you could say that, yeah. Just having a lot of freedom there to do stuff like, whether it was like creating logos or creating marketing like brochures, or creating things for the website, or taking pictures of things like that. That kind of solidified, I guess, that into me, where I kept saying I want to do that type of work. But really where I'm at now is still kind of random, but
Just a little bit.
yeah. I had
You bring us Big Sexy, but he also works for Big Sexy.
I do. Works for, I work for Big Sexy doing the social media and marketing. I love to take pictures of like the beer, and I've done like the whole website and everything for them. And I hope, to continue doing that, not just with Big Sexy, but maybe other brands and stuff as times go on. But what was I going to say? Oh, when you say what I do now, I kind of imagine more of like the nonprofit that I work is.
Yeah, let's get into
more
that. You shorten it to D2R.
Sure.
What's it all stand for?
Stands for
What do you do?
Disconnect to Reconnect. And our little slogan is Reconnect through outdoor adventure, recreation, and fitness. And it came about because while I was working, at that job, I was there for many years, just kind of out of nowhere, but I think it built up over time. I started to have like a lot of like anxiety and like kind of like not mental issues, but just like mental blocks and things.
Yeah.
And, I was dealing a lot with bad sleep and get these like weird little night terror things, and pushing through that, I ended up just kind of admitting to myself that I needed to take a step back and kind of re-examine like my mental health and everything, like from my eating habits, exercise, what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I left that job, and it was kind of like a quick little like culture shock for me, Okay, now what do I do? If I'm gonna leave a a nice, cushy job.
Yeah. Inside in the AC.
Yeah, to just try to figure myself out or try to work through things I was dealing with. You know, what do I want to do? So I started just like going out on my mountain bike like every single day. Started going on hikes, started kayaking and paddleboarding and just spending time outside. That was also like the year of like COVID too, so that was like the only thing you could do.
So you're like the only one outside.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
And just
like I got to do all this by myself. No one's here.
Right. After a while, I really felt like, when I would go out into the mountains, I would just feel way better. Whether it was with a friend, group of friends, or just by myself, just kind of being able to think and look around and be somewhere where there was no one else. It was just me. Or if you have a view, you're looking at a beautiful view and there's nobody else who's there experiencing that in the whole entire world. It's just you at that moment, or you with one of your good friends or your wife or your spouse.
You have like no phones or computer, TV, anything to distract you.
Right. And so that just started really clicking in my head with the benefits of being outdoors and how it immediately helped me with, my anxiety and stress and things I was dealing with. And so I started kind of like looking around to see if there was programs like that, and immediately didn't come across anything, and had an idea to create something to try to get other veterans involved and everything. And it still took a while. It was an idea probably for like a year before I finally committed to it.
At least you committed.
Right.
Some people just let those ideas sit forever.
Yeah.
Or they throw them away.
Yeah. Once I committed, still probably only half committed. You start telling people too, and maybe you create some business cards or things like that. And once you start telling people, you kind of cementing your fate by doing that, because now they're expecting that to happen. And so that's definitely a good way to tell everyone you're going to do it.
How long has Direct to Connect been live for? Direct to Reconnect.
No,
let me do it again.
Still not it.
How long has Disconnect to Reconnect been live for?
Yeah, we probably just since the beginning of this year, 2023, is when we've kind of started launching activities and everything. I started putting it together last April, and I mean, I've never started a company, but I've never started a nonprofit, and so I did not know all the hoops you're gonna have to jump through to get to that point. But they're all set up on purpose to make sure it's a legit company and everything. And so worked through that for probably about a half a year just to legally get it set up, and you got to get a board of directors and everything like that. And then we started our first hike in January, and we've done
Where
a few
was that?
things. We did it at a park in Auburn.
Okay.
And we had, I think, like 18 veterans come out.
Sick.
It was a pretty big group. And
for your first thing, 18, that's
and it was
gotta
a
feel good.
group of older veterans, younger veterans, and a couple even like reservists, I think. And it's awesome just because I could have this mindset of what it'll be or something, but it's really just going to naturally shape itself, and it's going to be the veterans who get involved that help shape it. And everyone during and after the hike was super stoked just to like meet some other veterans that share the same interests, and those interests are getting outdoors, or a couple of them had service dogs, and they were talking about the different places they had their dogs trained, and a couple people worked for the VA actually, and they were having conversations with other people. And so part of the idea is not just getting outdoors, but connecting with each other, and that camaraderie that comes with veterans getting together, whether it's making fun of each other or talking each other up, or
veterans don't make fun of each other.
Yeah, they for sure don't.
Not even close. It's just love.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Well, tough love.
It's like you're making a whole new unit. I mean, where guys, like, you go in, you get put wherever, you're sitting in the same unit forever, then you get sent back home when you're done. Now you're reforming something new.
Yeah.
So what activities do you guys? You did hiking. What else do you kind of
Yeah,
offer?
hiking and mountain biking is probably one of my favorite things. Just kind of like the thrill of it, probably. And then love being on the water, so kayaking, paddleboarding. Would love to try to get out for surfing or utilize some of the surfing nonprofits that we have for veterans already.
Yeah.
I've done a little bit of, or myself, I've tried to learn how to do some whitewater kayaking, but that's really hard. And then just like simple stuff. The most things we've done so far is actually disc golf events.
That's
and
pretty cool.
We just get together, and so far it's like either like a group of like 6 to 10 veterans, and sometimes we play singles or we play pairs, and get out and just get out.
Get outside.
Go talk, and there's a lot of room for conversation during disc golf, and it's also fun. It's like normal golf or anything where when you make the disc in the basket or something, it's rewarding.
Yeah.
You have a good shot, it's rewarding. So it's definitely an awesome activity. I didn't know that we would be doing that so much, but things line up, and I love disc golf, so it's pretty cool to see other veterans out on the course.
Well, yeah, and as you said earlier, it's the veterans that come in that are shaping the direction of
Exactly.
what you bring.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably have a veteran come out and suggest something, you look into and go, hey, that's possible.
Yep.
Are there any requirements besides being a veteran, for like guys to sign up, or do they just sign up, show up, or do they have to meet a certain physical requirements before you do something?
Yeah, I mean, right now as we kind of build our network of veterans in Northern California, a lot of it's just group activities, things that would be free and no cost to them already. So really it's just like veterans or active duty veterans or reservists can come out and be part of it. I think as we get further along with this, my goal is definitely to do specific adventure activities that could take like a week or 5-day trips, things like that, and there might only be room for 10 or 15 veterans, so we'll have like a sign-up process at that point.
That'd be really cool.
But right now it's everyone come and hang out, and
free
outside.
Is it just limited to California?
Yeah, right now we're just here in Northern California, as far as we can drive. Yeah.
Hey, that brings in a lot. You got the mountains on one side, the ocean right on the other.
Yeah. We went skiing a few weeks ago, and that was really fun. And in a few weeks, I'll be in Monterey doing some mountain bike stuff. So kind of you can spread across. You're welcome to come.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So, did any of your military, training, like mental toughness, like overcoming stuff, help you get determined to keep this thing going when you face I'm doing a business, I've never done that before, I have to do a nonprofit, I've never done that before? Anything that you learned in the military contribute to the success you're seeing now? Sure.
I mean, I think that's that's one of the most obvious things. You do see a lot of former military people having successful businesses, or being able to get through things that are hard, because it's exactly that. You go through tough things, you learn how to overcome them, and so when things come up, you kind of can go like, oh, that's not as tough as things I've done before. I mean, I think a big thing is doing intel stuff. We did a lot of briefs, we did a lot of communicational skill things, and so learning how to kind of manage a project or manage a situation, I think has helped out a lot, whether that's creating the idea and then implementing it. You can come up with ideas all the time, but it's actually getting it to exist is the harder part. And I do think I learned quite a bit through the Marine Corps that helped out with that.
Well, I don't want to gloss over it's something where it's oh yeah, that's obvious, because to you and I that probably seems obvious, but I've met so many guys, and you probably have too, without realizing it, that were this is all I know, I don't know how to do anything else besides whatever my job was in the military, and they get hung up. But then having guys like you come on this show, which is a big reason why we started it, is so veterans can see wow, Casey is out there doing it, he's doing something really difficult, and all he's doing is there's a challenge in front of him, and he's going to find a way to overcome it, which is essentially what they started pushing into you from the moment your boots stepped off the bus for boot camp and all the way through. And it's just kind of like tearing that veil, like shattering that glass to show guys who are coming out or have been out, like there's stuff out there. I mean, there's nonprofits like you're doing to help them with any mental health stuff, but there's always guys like you, like Danny from Warfighter Overwatch, who are an ear to be like, hey, you got an idea? Well, how do we make your idea a reality? And this is leading them into the steps to be successful.
Yeah. I mean, it takes, to start your own thing, it takes like guts, and, you got to feel vulnerable that, you're going to either make mistakes or, maybe there is someone you share the idea with and they say have something negative about it or something, But just being able to take any kind of thing that comes up and figure out how you're going to handle it, make a list, make points of what you need to do to make it work. And I definitely, that's just kind of how, I try to go through any kind of hard stuff like that, for sure.
Well, that's awesome. That's great. You're doing the same thing that you just left the Marine Corps doing, and you're doing it again. You're just not getting yelled at all the time when you make your mistakes.
Right, yeah.
Any big plans for you guys this summer, this year? Anything you're trying to roll out?
I think a big thing right now is we're still looking for a lot of veterans to get involved, and not just signing up for a hike on one random Saturday, but wanting to be involved with helping out, helping kind of shape Disconnect to Reconnect, and how we'll be operating, the difference between now and a year, 2 or 3 years from now. Kind of want to grow the group of people that are in on the choices and the ideas, and really have it be, community driven, veteran community driven. There's just a lot of good ideas that veterans have, and that's a big thing for me. I mean, big events. Definitely looking forward for probably some whitewater, like rafting stuff this summer, some mountain biking, and even setting up things like paddleboarding trips and stuff like that. They're just day trips, and then hopefully by next year we'll be looking at some longer like backpacking trips and things like that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So you may go into like multi-day adventures.
Yeah, exactly.
Rucks.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be really cool. Have you ever thought about partnering with other nonprofits to do stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm open for pretty much anything.
Because I remember you and I talked offline, and there's Warfighter Overwatch is local too, to Northern California. And I'd love to plug you guys in and maybe do something together. He does like the backpacking things, and he'll do Danny O'Neill sends like his nonprofit sends stuff out to guys who want to do like a big trip, like a hike up Mount Whitney or something. And there's requirements, like you get 10 guys or something, right? And you send out this, hey, this is our itinerary that we're going to do. And before we can even go, we all have to hit this mark of we have to do this many miles this day, this many miles to just prepare, because it's a huge hike.
Right.
And if one guy in your unit, in your group of 10 or whatever that's going, doesn't do it, you all pay. So it's kind of like a thing to keep everybody motivated and to keep everybody going forward.
Yeah, that's awesome. And super necessary.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is send people who aren't prepared.
And I think most guys who have come out of the military are going to sit there and go, well, I'm not going to fail, because I'm not going to let the whole team down. Like all of us are jumping in to do this thing. I'm not going to be the one that's screwing it over for everybody.
Right.
And then the next guy will probably have that attitude and will go all the way down the line. So I think that's cool. I think it's really cool you're doing and putting out there.
Yeah, the biggest thing is just getting veterans together. Depending, like I said, it could just be going out on the water for the day, paddleboarding. Those little conversations you have, or if you're doing a multi-day trip with a small group of veterans, the conversations you have, the memories you can make, those things are super beneficial. And it's things that you start to miss over time.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a long time to really start to feel the effects of maybe like my mental health or things like that. Right when you get out of the service, you're just like, what's up? Let's go.
Happy,
you know,
I'm
I was
home.
looking for
No
a
more of
girl.
that.
Let's go. I'm going to the bars. You know, you're not sitting there. You haven't really like unwound yet and kind of taken your experiences and started to digest them yet.
Yeah.
So once you get to that point, having other, veterans that are right there at the same stage as you, being able to communicate and lift each other up, tell stories is super beneficial. And I definitely can't wait to have, that first like extended trip that we do.
And not only them being in the same stage, but they'll have guys that are stages ahead.
Right.
Like, hey, I remember being there. Like, this is a good way to get out.
Exactly.
And you're getting tips, advice. That's a big thing I'm hearing from guys that have done the warfighter Overwatch stuff. It's the same thing you have. It's like the mental state. Be willing to be vulnerable around these guys, and they're going to reciprocate.
Right.
It all probably is going to start with you if you're the one out there doing it. And it sounds like you're more than willing to do that because you've already been vulnerable to start the whole thing. Right. You get it lifted off the ground. Like, I'm going to accept the fact that I may fail, and I want to succeed, so I'm going to share the hardships.
Yeah, you got to be vulnerable. And, that's one of the biggest things that, blocks veterans from healing, or any person that's dealing with PTSD or stress or anxiety. It's like you have to be willing to let it go. And sometimes, especially as a veteran, if you're talking with someone who maybe didn't share the same experiences, you don't really let go. You don't, empty your soul to them.
Yeah.
But when you're sitting there with someone who's been through it, it's something magical happens. It's pretty cool to see.
And it sounds like a great experience because, there's so many guys that don't want to sit down with a therapist who's just come out of like school, never seen what they've seen, and they're like, how am I going to sit and talk with you about this? But maybe they'll go sit down and talk with a guy who's been through it, been where they've been, but they're through it and like, hey man, like this is what I went through and this is how I got through it. Then they'll in turn share, get that weight lifted off their shoulders and live to see another day.
Right. Yeah.
Because I'm tired of wearing these on my arms, man.
Exactly.
From everybody coming out and being done. So, dude, I love it. I love what you're doing. Is there ways we can help? Is there ways people can help? Are you looking like, do you need sponsors? How do you fund the nonprofit?
Yeah, so far we've been super blessed within our community. A couple different, businesses and like the Chamber of Commerce kind of just reaching out and sharing their platforms with us, and being able to raise, at least money for what we're doing now. Things we do hopefully next year will cost a lot more. So yeah, definitely sponsorships and things like that we're looking for, and just meeting the right people who know the right people, things like that, and also just getting veterans involved.
That's probably the hardest part at times.
It's been the hardest part. I can call, a local business and say, you're willing to donate to this or something, and everyone wants to support the veterans.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, this is for veterans, awesome. But then once you say, hey, veteran who's dealing with a lot right now, who has maybe a couple little kids, you also, going through some tough things at work, do you want to spend this weekend away from all of that? It's kind of hard to get them to buy in.
Yeah.
Just because you got to be vulnerable. That means they got to make that choice to kind of release those things. And also just being small, social media presence only goes so far and stuff. So, just word of mouth.
And so you're up on social media, I'm assuming, since you started at that one company where you started doing their marketing and social media and website development. You probably have your own website.
Yep. Website is D2Rvets.com.
Pretty easy. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for starting what you're doing.
Yeah.
And we'll throw a link down here so people can find where you are online through your socials, and hopefully sign up. Get the veterans out there.
Yep.
Thanks, dude.
Cool.